Yeah.
Because we are live, family.
Let me put my sunglasses on.
Let's get to it here. Hope everyone can hear me here. Let me go on to the chat so I can see what's going on here. Make sure everyone can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Let's see here. How do we do this? How do we do this? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Hold on. Let me check my mic level here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, great. You can hear me. Okay, great. Awesome. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, it's the January. It's my first presentation of 2022. I wanted to get to it earlier, but I got very, very busy, which is a good thing because busy doing real work. And so, yeah, we're going to focus on here, and basically, I'm going to lay my objectives for 2022 to the family, and then share some of the things that's going on and what my plan is here for this year. As always, give thanks to you all who take time out of your day and your night to listen to me share valuable experience, and that's what it's all about, adding value and hoping it can change lives, because right now we're at a critical point in this journey here, family. A critical point. We're basically at war, and we have to spend our time wisely. And it's about claiming, as the title suggests, claiming our ancestral estates. This year is the goal for 2022. So last year we planted seeds, and these seeds will blossom this coming up year. And for me, I'm on a mission here, family, and that is to claim my national treasure. My ancestors have been communicating with me and speaking to me. They've been guiding me to the treasures they left, right? And so many of you are in a similar position. Your ancestors have left grand treasures, but unfortunately, we in this battlefield again, we're at war, and we're confronted with distractions and temptations that will lead us off course to what we have to do in life, right? So my goal and purpose, in addition to claiming my own treasure that my ancestors left, is to help others with that, because I have a particular skill set. And that skill set deals with applying the law, and we're talking American jurisprudence, which I am, cosmic level gifted in, right? So that's what this is about. And when it comes to national treasures in the form of land patents, we will get into that, and that's the goal, to claim that, right? Now, everyone, you may not have ancestors who had land patents, but there's other remedy you can get. Most of us have been denationalized and victims of Hollywood fiction, created by these sorcerers and warlocks. So there's remedy there as well for you. So we're gonna get into a lot of that, and then there's gonna be some case examples of people doing real work, actually on that battlefield, going after their ancestral treasures and estates, right? So first, before I'm going to make a declaration, family, because when we get into genealogy, and this is part of the battle, that my subtitle is Genealogical Warfare, right? Because now what's going on is the genealogy has been kept from us, right? Now, all this is coming to bear now. So, back in the 80s and 90s, the Afrocentrics dominated. They had no competition, right? I was right there with them, everything happens for a reason. And during that time, working with Runoko Rashid, Ashra Kwesi, and John Henry Clark, Dr. Dan, of course, it helped. I learned how to do, because at that time, families, we didn't have the internet. We couldn't just click on and just get information at a touch of a button. It was the old-fashioned way. You had to go into libraries, right? Into special collection sections of libraries to do research, and you had to sit there hours upon hours, days, and years. But that made develop. I'm a very good researcher, right? And so that part of my life helped develop the fundamental skills and the foundation that I apply when it comes to law. Because once you launch a lawsuit and manage a lawsuit, of course, in addition to knowing what the laws are, knowing the intricate rules, um, crafting a plan to attack, to defeat your opponent. I mean, my opponents are experienced bar members and judges, but the research skills, what's very, very important. And the research skills is what you need to do your genealogy. Okay. Um, Now, one thing about this here, you can't major in genealogy in university. There's no such major. And there would never be a such major, because the first one thing is that they don't want many of us to learn, because genealogy defeats their lines, right? It trumps all of their fiction. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to discover on your paternal and your maternal line that, wait a minute, they told me in school that we're from somewhere in West Africa. But once you go down that genealogical rabbit hole, you're not going to find any records connecting you there. So that's why they kept this from us. That's why you can't major in genealogy, right? You can't get a PhD in genealogy. These records are like diamond, rare, they're treasures. That's why they as I presented in my last presentation, what the Mormons are doing, hijacking, stealing people's identity, and then they are baptizing those people, giving them registration numbers. That's what's going on. So when it comes to genealogy, if you don't have the skill sets to do it yourself, you better get someone that you can trust, that you're close with. You don't just pay some stranger to do genealogy. And even if some genealogist, you can be a member of Ancestry or MyHeritage, and they have like they can recommend a so-called professional genealogist for you. Never do that. At least not for us. Because remember, when you know a lot of these records, of course, originally our ancestors created these records. So I don't know if you are aware of that, but I'm going to let you know now that our ancestors created the records. These records have been altered and changed by the Johnny-come-latelys, and based upon my experience in dealing with these records, the major changes happened after 1930, 1940. And they're still going on now, because what they're doing now, they're retroactively throwing the term African American back into these records. So this is what we have to stop here now. It's like you see words like free colored person. Those words weren't back in the 1800s on the original census records. Other persons, but never free colored persons. They retroactively threw it back. So, and now what they're going to do, so if we don't do the work to stop them, in the next 100 years, family, these records will have African American on there. Okay? And there's a reason for that, because what they're doing now, part of the warfare, is to kill us off and to replace us with people who look like us, but they're foreigners, mainly from Africa. And then what that will do, their fictitious out of African story becomes true. So all of a sudden we see the whole genealogy paradigm coming to surface now, right? There's a reason for that, because now this is the new currency, family. This is the new currency, because we are endangered now. We're an endangered species. We are surrounded by what I dub sleeper cells, who've been here for 50, 60 years. And we've had our heads in the sand. And by the time we poked our head up, it was too late. They took over, family. They took over. But our ancestors were brilliant. They set this stuff up for those that will break the spells to go back to reclaim what they left and to help others. Now, I can't force you, right? There's been a lot of chirping around about people talking about land patents and law. But remember, never speak on what you do not know. If you don't know the law, don't speak on it. If you've never yourself initiated a lawsuit, managed it, went up against 30, 40-year experienced bar members and defeated them, went up against dirty judges and got them disciplined, if you don't have that skill set and experience, don't speak on it. Because then you become part of the problem, then you end up on the wrong side of history, and then you will die, just like my own father died, not knowing who you are. So, I'm going to make a declaration before I start, but before I start, I'm going to run a video here, family. That's very, very important. And now, this is not, we're not here to bash or to down, brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa. It's not what it's about, because they're not our problem. But what you have is you have enemies who are training and breeding them to become these sleeper cells. And then you get these second generation, maybe third generation to come in. They look like us. They talk like us, right? But they have a plan, and that's to become us. And many of them have already done that, right? But we're going to get into, so I'm going to just show this little 7-minute video of what's going on right now, so you get a full understanding, because we don't know what the hell's going on, right? But this video gets into a lot of that. And let me just run this here real quick here, family, before we get into land patents. Hold on.
C'est que nous amène ici aux États-Unis. Nous avons ces soif de goûter à la démocratie.
Mutai is one of the 400 people from the DRC and Angola who are seeking asylum and have been welcomed with open arms in Portland, Maine.
I raised my hand and said, bring them on. We are happy to take on new families because we need them.
In June, hundreds of African migrants arrived in Portland from the U.S.-Mexico border. They spent months, sometimes years, traveling thousands of miles across the Atlantic and through South and Central America. Once in the U.S., they too were held in detention centers like the ones we've seen in Texas. Nearly 750,000 migrants have been apprehended at the southern border in 2019 alone. Most are from South and Central America, but a small, increasing number of them are African. They too claim they're fleeing from danger in their home countries. After being held in detention and released, they were offered a bus ticket. They asked for a one-way ticket to Maine. This is another face of asylum.
What is it about Portland that is so attractive for these asylum seekers to want to come here over other places? I mean, you would think for people who are arriving to the U.S.-Mexico border to end up in Maine,
It's a miracle, yeah.
it's pretty far.
When they came across the border and then were released, They said they wanted to go someplace that was welcoming, and a number of them heard that Portland was such a place. We are a state that needs young families. Everybody says it. We want young families, young workers to come here.
Maine has an aging population and an economy that desperately needs workers. Portland is appealing because of its African community. While the city of 67,000 is 80% white, there is a sizable number of African-born citizens.
They hear that people from their own community and their own culture are already there, and that means that they can acclimate and find stability. Everybody has stepped up and said, we are a welcoming city. We want you.
When we met Mutai, his wife, and 2 daughters in July, they were among the hundreds staying in the Portland Expo Center. When the city saw a surge of new arrivals, they turned its sports complex into a makeshift shelter. Mutai and his family fled ongoing violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Why did you choose Portland?
Ce qui m'a amené ici à l'état de Belgique, c'est la diversité de races. Chez nous, dans nos pays, nos dirigeants, présidents, nous traitent comme des animaux. Il n'y a pas la démocratie, il n'y a pas les vertus. J'entends parler de la démocratie, mais je n'ai jamais goûté à cela. Voilà.
What's your American dream?
Je rêve de beaucoup de choses. Dès que je suis rentré aux États-Unis, vraiment déterminé. Vraiment, c'est de contribuer à l'avance du pays et terminer mes études. Parce que je n'ai pas eu l'opportunité d'étudier en Afrique. Mes parents n'avaient pas de moyens pour nous envoyer faire quelque chose, étudier. Mes rêves ici aux États-Unis, j'aimerais répandre mes études.
And he's already begun.
She is my teacher. Nice.
Volunteers across the city have been teaching asylum seekers English.
The number you call for an emergency?
911.
911. Write it down, please.
Laura Didos and her son drop off donations at Maine Baby,
Ladies, I'm going to put stuff directly on the shelves, but I just want to know where you want underwear, right here.
where hundreds of goods have been pouring in for families to shop for necessities for free.
There are present neighbors, there are future friends, business partners, co-workers, employers, employees. They have so much to offer us. They want to be a member of society. They want to work here. They want to be Americans.
And there's Hope House, a residential housing program that's exclusively for asylum seekers. Portland's residents have also responded financially, contributing to some $900,000 in donations for asylum seekers. And Maine's Governor Janet Mills took it one step further, expanding the state's General Assistance Program to help the new families get by until they can start working.
Every step towards asylum eligibility, and at the same time not dropping the ball on them and not letting their children go hungry and without shelter and clothing.
But behind this outpouring of support, there's fear and uncertainty. While Portland has an open arms approach, the Trump administration has vowed to target asylum seekers through stricter immigration enforcement.
They say we have open arms. They're always saying they have open arms. Let's see if they have open arms. The system is full. Can't take you anymore. The asylum program is a scam. Some of the roughest people you've ever seen. People that look like they should be fighting for the UFC.
Even threatening to deport those already in the country legally. And this month, the Supreme Court upheld a Trump policy that denies asylum applications to anyone passing through another country without applying for asylum there first.
People have the right to seek asylum. That's a right guaranteed under U.S. law, and it's guaranteed under international law. And people who are facing persecution in their home countries need to know that we're going to be here fighting to defend that right to seek safety and asylum.
So what kind of jeopardy does that put asylum seekers in Portland in?
It's really terrorizing for people who are here fleeing persecution, and they have to live in fear.
We've actually had trouble sleeping, worrying that ICE will come and knock on the door and deport them. The messages from the administration now are contributing to people's trauma.
I am never going to allow people to stand up in this city and say send them back.
Hold on, family. Hold on a second here. Wow, you could not see that video there? Wait a minute here. Wow, that's great. So the video was not visible. Hold on a second. I thought oh my God, I didn't hit the share screen. What? Wow. Really got my head in the sand there, family. Sorry about that. Let's do this again. Yeah, I have a lot to learn here. I'm going to run it back again here. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see here. Let's go. So let me know if you can see it here now. We're going to do this again here. Hold on. Sorry about that, family.
Ce qui nous amène ici aux États-Unis, nous avons ces soif de goûter à la
Now let me know if
démocratie.
it's visible
Mutai is one
now.
of the 400 people from
Put a
the
one in the
DRC
chat.
and Angola who are seeking asylum and have been welcomed with open arms in Portland, Maine.
I raised my hand and said, bring them on. We are happy to take on new families because we need them.
In June, hundreds of African migrants arrived in Portland from the U.S.-Mexico border. They spent months, sometimes years, traveling thousands of miles across the Atlantic and through South and Central America. Once in the U.S., they too were held in detention centers, like the ones we've seen in Texas. Nearly 750,000 migrants have been apprehended at the southern border in 2019 alone. Most are from South and Central America, but a small, increasing number of them are African. They too claim they're fleeing from danger in their home countries. After being held in detention and released, they were offered a bus ticket. They asked for a one-way ticket to Maine. This is another face of asylum.
What is it about Portland that is so attractive for these asylum seekers to want to come here over other places? I mean, you would think for people who are arriving to the U.S.-Mexico border to end up in Maine,
It's a miracle, yeah.
it's pretty far.
When they came across the border and then were released, they said they wanted to go someplace that was welcoming, and a number of them heard that Portland was such a place. We are a state that needs young families. Everybody says it. We want young families, young workers to come here.
Maine has an aging population and an economy that desperately needs workers. Portland is appealing because of its African community. While the city of 67,000 is 80% white, there is a sizable number of African-born citizens.
They hear that people from their own community and their own culture are already there, and that means that they can acclimate and find stability. Everybody has stepped up and said, we are a welcoming city. We want you.
When we met Mutai, his wife, and 2 daughters in July, they were among the hundreds staying in the Portland Expo Center. When the city saw a surge of new arrivals, they turned its sports complex into a makeshift shelter. Mutai and his family fled ongoing violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Why did you choose Portland?
Ce qui m'a amené ici à l'état de Maine, c'est la diversité de races. Chez nous, dans nos présidents, nos dirigeants, présidents, nous traitent comme des animaux. Il n'y a pas la démocratie, il n'y a pas le futur. J'entends parler de la démocratie, mais je n'ai jamais goûté à cela en Afrique.
What's your American dream?
Je rêve de beaucoup de choses. Dès que je suis arrivé aux États-Unis, vraiment déterminé. Vraiment, c'est de contribuer à l'avance du pays et terminer mes études. Parce que je n'ai pas eu l'opportunité d'étudier en Afrique. Nos parents n'avaient pas de moyens pour nous envoyer faire quelque chose, étudier. Mes rêves ici aux États-Unis, j'aimerais reprendre mes études.
And he's already begun.
She is my teacher.
Volunteers across the city have been teaching asylum seekers English.
The number you call for an emergency?
911.
911. Write it down, please.
Laura Didos and her son drop off donations at Maine Baby,
Ladies, I'm going to put stuff directly on the shelves, but I just want to know where you want underwear, right here.
where hundreds of goods have been pouring in for families to shop for necessities for free.
There are present neighbors, there are future friends, business partners, co-workers, employers, employees. They have so much to offer us. They want to be a member of society. They want to work here. They want to be Americans.
And there's Hope House, a residential housing program that's exclusively for asylum seekers. Portland's residents have also responded financially, contributing to some $900,000 in donations for asylum seekers. And Maine's Governor Janet Mills took it one step further, expanding the state's general assistance program to help the new families get by until they can start working.
Every step towards asylum eligibility, and at the same time not dropping the ball on them and not letting their children go hungry and without shelter and clothing.
But behind this outpouring of support, there's fear and uncertainty. While Portland has an open arms approach, the Trump administration has vowed to target asylum seekers through stricter immigration enforcement.
They say we have open arms. They always say they have open arms. Let's see if they have open arms. The system is full. Can't take you anymore. The asylum program is a scam. Some of the roughest people you've ever seen. People that look like they should be fighting for the UFC.
Even threatening to deport those already in the country legally. And this month, the Supreme Court upheld a Trump policy that denies asylum applications to anyone passing through another country without applying for asylum there first.
People have the right to seek asylum. That's a right guaranteed under U.S. law, and it's guaranteed under international law. And people who are facing persecution in their home countries need to know that we're going to be here fighting to defend that right to seek safety and asylum.
So what kind of jeopardy does that put asylum seekers in Portland in?
It's really terrorizing for people who are here fleeing persecution, and they have to live in fear.
We've actually had trouble sleeping, worrying that ICE will come and knock on the door and deport them. The messages from the administration now are contributing to people's trauma.
I am never going to allow people to stand up in this city and say send them back. We've made that clear. Our police department is clear. We're not going to be out harassing folks. We want folks to live here happily, and that's what we've been doing.
Is there a limit to the hospitality?
Our schools have capacity. Our economy has capacity. You talk to employers, go talk to anybody and ask them how hard it is to find workers. You walk around this room and talk to people, they all want to work. And it's going to cost money, there's no doubt about it, but our budget will be fine. And the investment that we're making today, the return on the dollar down the road, it's immeasurable.
Mutai remains hopeful that the U.S. will be as welcoming as Maine has been this summer, and that he made the right decision to risk his life in hope of a better one.
Being here in Portland now, is there anything that you are afraid of?
Des choses dont je perds, je peux dire en quelque sorte non. On avait juste, je peux dire, une petite peur pour des propos de notre président en place, qui était envers nous immigrés. Mais je sais qu'avec le temps, ça va.
So there it is, family. Wanted to share that. And again, you can't blame them. You know, they're trying to improve their lives. That's fine and dandy. But you know, we're at war, and we got to always be cognizant of what our opponent is doing. So our opponent, they're putting bringing these people in. These people are crossing that Texas border as we speak. And going to these locations over there in the state of Maine, that's where a lot of them been setting, and that's been going on for decades, family. This is not new. And so we are faced with second generation people who look like us, who talk like us, right? And many of them are part of programs to come into our cipher and to accumulate information in order to be us. Now, with this genealogy paradigm that's taking off here now, when they're talking about land possessions, we have to have in our mind, okay, well, wait a minute. Now they're talking about that they're telling us our ancestors had land. So, but if they can get their agents, who are these sleeper cells, to come get all the information where the land is, right? And then their part of the deal is they can get our names. And then think about this here, family. They'll weave their names after becoming us, and then when you're going back 150 years, 180 years. You have to remember the sleeper cell has their own indigenous African names, where they come from, whatever nation they come from in Africa. They can weave that right back into the history to make their fiction true. And at the same time, knock off the land to true landlords, and you replace us with people who aren't native. That gives you access, free, clear access to the land. This is what we have to be cognizant of. We always have to plan for worst case scenario. So right now, our only mission is to go after our national treasure now. No, they can't stop this. This is ordained by the ancestors. Now, let's get into this. I'm going to make a declaration, because I'm going to present my own personal genealogical information, but I'm going to do it right, family, because we have to remember this is a public record. This is a court. So, first, I'm going to declare on the penalty of perjury that the foregoing genealogical evidence and all other material evidence I introduce on this public record are true and correct. That's number one. So, let me continue along that line, state who I am, prove who I am. I'm not just going to state a genealogical ancestor without showing you how I'm connected to that individual, because if failure to do so, then it's alleged. It's not, I don't want people saying, oh, Armani's alleged genealogy. No, it's going to be a true fact. And so this is how you do that, right? So let's go. Let me produce this here. Okay. Go here. Go here. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to show my ID. Okay, let's download it. Download it here. Okay, there it is. Now let me turn on my camera so you know that is me. That's my grill. Okay, hold on a second here. Get to turn on my camera here. Let's see here. Let me do that. Okay, StreamYard there. Turn on my camera. Start cam here. Okay. All right. It's very small. Okay, hold on. How do I get rid of this? What is this thing here? Oh, here we go. How about that? Okay, now you can see me here. So now let's go back to the ID, right? Oh, not this one. Wait a second. I think this has it here. No, that's not it. Here. Okay, let me check the live chat here to make sure everyone can see this stuff here. Hold on. Put a 1 in the chat if you can see the photo ID there. I'll make it bigger. It's very small. How about now? How about now? Is it bigger now? Okay, here's my family name there. Put a 1 in the chat if the size is okay. It was bigger before. Okay, hold on. Not too big there. How about that there? Okay, see that? Right? Only. Okay, right. So right. So you see the picture ID, right? Wow, you don't see the picture ID? Hold on a second here. 1. Okay, see the picture ID. Okay, and you see here, this is my family name. Only live view. Wow, not sharing screen. Hold on a second here. Share screen. No, the screen is sharing, right? The screen is sharing, right? No, just yes. Okay, you can see my face, right? So you see my face, and you can see the ID, right? You can see the ID, so you see that's me. All right. Now that's just one form of evidence. I'm going to show another form of evidence. I want to show my old passport, right? Show this too here. So let's download it. Let's flip it, straighten it up there, make it bigger. So you see that there, okay? So you see there's my passport. You saw my face, family name. Of course, your family name is not. Don't never call your family name a government name. Family. Your family name gives you title, estate, inheritance. It's ancient. It goes back and gives you title, estate, and inheritance. Government names are for sleeper cells. Foreigners who are coming over here, given names by the government, family names that are similar to ours. Okay, your name is your treasure. Okay, and it connects you to your estate and title and land inheritance. That's what it is. Right. So hope everyone saw that, right? I'm going to check the live feed there. I'm seeing you, not showing your ID. We see you, not the ID. Wow, why is, wait a minute. Oh, I see why. Okay, I got to stop the camera. That's why. Hold on. Okay, so you saw me there. There we go. Now, let's see. Okay, so now you didn't see the ID. So let's go back here now. Okay, can you see that? Now can you see it? Can you see it now? Empress Hobart, put a 1 in there if you can see the photo ID there. Someone put a 1 in the chat if you can see that. No, nothing? No, we see you, not the ID. How about now? Nothing. Hold on. Wow. Did I stop sharing? Let's see here. Stop screen. Share. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. There we go. How about that? Can we see that now? Now can we see? Nothing. Okay. D Harris 1. Okay, now I get 1. Yes. Okay, so this is my Japanese ID. You saw my face before in the camera. So you saw my face on the camera. So here's the ID, right? And here's my family name. Connects me to title. House of Grisette. First name Andre, Marcellus middle name, right? And this is all in Japanese. You see my birth year, 1966, December 5th, right? Nationality, region. This here kanji says Beikoku. That's what it means, Beikoku in Japanese there. Okay, so you see that. Now let me show you another form of ID. Here's my old passport. It's my passport. See the face? Same family name, same birth year, December 5th, 1966. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Okay, you see all that. Okay. There. Now, so since so you see that, so now I can go ahead and start showing genealogy, right? That moves from being alleged facts to true and correct facts, right? I show that there. So now let's get into this here. Now, I believe before, let's go to the tree here. Go to the tree. I believe I showed this before here. And this will also help a lot of you when you're doing this here, right? And you're learn some tricks here to find ancestors, because we have to understand. See, like many, in my case, your ancestors had different names, especially on the first name, right? And many of them did that on purpose. And then, of course, also we have the enemies whose job is to prevent us from finding the important ancestors. Is they'll change their names, they'll misspell a name, but the spellings will come in varied forms. That's understandable, but sometimes you'll find intentional misspellings. And I'm going to show you a case of my maternal line where I actually found a land patent connected to my great paternal grandfather, and they misspelled it in the Bureau of Land Management database. Okay, but I found it, and I'm going to show you guys some other tricks to use. So we go here. So you see, this is me here. Okay, I just proved and showed who I was, right? It's my wife, and then my 3 children here, down at the bottom, right? Down here, right? So going up here to my parents, Wallace Lee Grissett. Now, which I showed before in my previous presentation. I even showed his obituary, right? And my mother, okay? But now let's stay on the paternal line just for a second. I did it before. I'm just going to do a little bit over it again, right? So my father was born 1947. He died 2018. And his father was Fred Grissett, Isabel Marble. Now, unfortunately, if you see here, my father was born 1947, August 7th. His father died 1947. So actually, my grandfather died in January 1947, before his 3rd child was even born, while my grandmother was still pregnant with Wallace, right? So, now, okay, let's open this up here. Hold on. Profile. Okay. So now, a lot of this information on my paternal line took some very, very deep diving to find stuff. And of course, at my father's funeral, I met my cousin. Let me show photos here. Now, Fred Grissett, my grandfather's brother, was also named Wallace Lee Grissett. So my father was named after his uncle, right? So I'm going to show a photo of my uncle that I got from my cousin. Let's see here. I'm going to show a photo of, okay, here he is here. Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee's photo right there. Okay. Now this is I got this photo from my cousin. Let me make it bigger so y'all can see it here. Let me see, how do I make it bigger? There. Let me know if you guys can see this here. Because I'm if you can see this here. Can you see it? You can see that, Hobart, my uncle? And make it bigger. There, can you see that? Okay, great. Now, this is Wallace Lee Grissett, born 1910. Okay. Bossier Parish, Louisiana. Basically, it's right next door to Shreveport. Shreveport's on the west side of the river. Bossier's on the east side of the river. Okay, now this is his wife. Now many may think that she's just a straight Albion, right? But actually, she's actually her father and grandparents were melanated. But we're not going to get into her. But I just want to show you this here. Now, this is I've never, of course, met my grandfather because he died in 1947. I was born in 1966. But, I got this image from my cousin Wallace. He gave me the picture of his father, right? And this is the closest thing I can get to seeing my own grandfather is a picture of him, right? Now, his son, who's also named Wallace, we pass names down, as you know. And we're talking together, and he's helping me out, and he actually got a lot of the stuff I needed. He went to Louisiana to get some of the genealogical records that we're preparing for to claim our ancestral lands. Now, let me show you a picture of my cousin Wallace, his son. So you just saw. Let's see, where's my cousin's photo at? Where's my cousin's photo? Okay, hold on. Okay, here, right here. So this is his son. I just showed you my uncle. This is his son right here, Wallace Grissett. Okay, it's my cousin. He's a musician, plays keyboards, and he also lives in Santa Ana, California, not too far from Los Angeles. Okay, so that's his son, my cousin. Right. Who's also named Wallace. Right. So now Fred Grissett's father was a Pinckney Grissett, okay, and mother Martha Richards. Now, how did I make this connection? Right now, I'm going to share with you. Now, Martha Richards, her maiden name's Richards, right? So this comes from Uncle Lee's death information, okay? So let me show you this here, real quick here. Do you see this here? Wallace Lee Grissett, the one I showed you the photo with his wife, okay? Like I said, he was born 1910, Louisiana. He died 1980 in Orange, California. Mother's maiden name, Richards, right? And then again, talking to my cousin, his son, Wallace, who's 5 years older than me. He's 60 now. So he told me about when he was little that his father's sister and cousin would come by. And he mentioned a name named Helen Gainey. Okay, now Helen Gainey is the daughter. Now let me go to the tree here. Go back to the tree. Right. So Fred Grissett now, right? Martha Richards. Now Martha Richards. Now let's go to her. Let me quickly show here. Martha Richards on the 1880 census. Okay. Now this is going to be very important. The town where they from, the county, and the ward. Okay. So this is the 1880 census. Okay. Ward 6, the 6th ward in parish of Bossier, right? State of Louisiana, 1880, right? So on here, go down here. And this would be my, right here, okay, Richards. Let me blow it up. I know the ink is very light there. Barely see it, but I'm going to blow it up. Okay. So you see here, Harriet, Sarah, Martha, Richards. Now, of course, Susan Flimmery, that's the mother, right? That's the mother. And then her daughters, Richards here, right? You see there it says daughter of Susan Flimmery, daughter, and then quotations, repeating the same word, daughter, right? Of Martha there. So now on the census, 1900 census of Martha. Let's see here. Let's go here. Let's go right here. Okay. So let me pull this. I'm going to pull this census up. This is Pinckney census, right? But he had another family, of course. So we had to really. My cousin really did a lot of footwork to make the connection here, because we were right at 90% all last year, and then he got it to 100% when he went down there. But I want to show you something, because this, you guys can have a similar situation. So what you always got to look for is the county, the ward, right? So here we go here, Louisiana, Bossier County, Ward 6, same ward, right? Now on here, here's right here, let's blow it up there, okay? Now, this is Pinckney Grissett, right? But his wife on here is Ellen, 1, 2, 3, 4 children, right? Eliza, Maddie, Lambert, and Henry. Okay. So, but Pinckney's been taught. You see, when you're going on these deep dives, family, your own ancestors will guide you right along the way. They will guide you and help you find them, with the goal, of course, leading you to the national treasure they left for you, right? So we go here. Let's pull up. Let's go back to this here tree here. And let's go search. Let's go search. I'm going to put in Martha's name. Martha. Set. She's born in 1874. Bossier, Louisiana. All right, female. Pop that in there. Okay, now here's a 1900 census. Now we're going to juxtapose this one with the 1900 Pinckney census, right? Now, as you know, family, let's make this smaller. You'll see that on the census, they have like 30 pages, right? And you got to check every other page. You got to check the entire area, because that consists of the entire area where the enumerator was gathering the information, right? You have to check the entire area, all the other pages associated with the census record. Okay, so you look at this here census. Now, of course, this is 1900. My grandfather Fred and his brother Wallace, who you just saw, and also his sister Ruth, they were not born yet. My father was born in my grandfather Fred was born in 1903. His brother Wallace was born in 1910. Martha, she hadn't had them children yet. But 1900, here, you look at here. So you go down here. There she is here. Let me make it bigger so everyone can see it. Okay, see that birth year? 1874. Now, their first son's Tommy Grissett, or Thomas Grissett. And then Carrie Lou. And I made these connections because my cousin Wallace told me about Helen Gainey, right, when he was a little boy. So then when I did a deeper dive, Helen Gainey is the daughter of Carrie Grissett. Okay? That's how I made that connection with Carrie Grissett there, right? And then speaking to my uncle, my father's brother, who's still alive, he told me that Tommy Grissett fought in World War I and he was stationed over in France, and he never came back home. Okay, and so you're going to have to always talk to family members, older family members, to help you put the puzzle together. Now, so you see here, it has Martha Grissett. Now let's go to the top. We went to the top of Pinckney's Grissett's census record, 1900, and it said Ward 6 Bossier, correct? Now, so here, go to the top here. We're going to go to the top here. Yeah, okay, yeah. So Bossier, Louisiana, Ward 6, same area, right? And then, of course, on this census, it's 5 pages. And, of course, you got to check all the pages for the other names. So I already know, based upon my research over the last few years on this, my paternal line, that Pinckney Grissett was the only Grissett in Bossier parish. And, of course, his father, whose name is also Tommy Grissett. Now, we're going to get into that later because I'm going to show you Tommy Grissett's land patent and how I found it. But so here, now look what the enumerator did here. So he has Martha as head, but it's a question mark, right? Knowing that something strange here, where she's the head with, and then it says here, right? Look what it says here. She's 26, marital status, married. Years married, 9 years. So she's 26. She's married for 9 years. She got married at 17 years old, family. 17. Pinckney Grissett's born in 1860. Martha's born in 1874. All right. Now, I don't know about you guys, but, this happens a lot with me because my own, I'm going to show my grandmother in a second, but sometimes I don't know if it was a culture thing. It could have been legal then, but they had more than one wife. Many men of prominence during the time had a lot of multiple families with different women. Okay? My own grandmother and my grandfather, my maternal grandmother and her husband, was a similar situation there when they came to Los Angeles in 1943. My grandmother had 4 children, my mother and 3 other children. But then my grandfather had a secret family that my grandmother didn't know about, and when she found out, that's when she, it was hard on her. And but I'm only saying that to say that this stuff happened. But remember, I was just 90%. Now my cousin Wallace, the keyboard player, he went to Louisiana last year, back in October, and we got the evidence from Ruth Grissett. She's not on here because she was born in 1906. That connected to Pinckney, right? And this is going to be part of a lawsuit that we're using as evidence to when I claim the land patent. Now, I already showed Pinckney's land patent in my last build, okay? So I don't want to get back into that, but I'll just show it again for some of the family here before. But before that, I want to go to the newspaper here because this is another way, another component to your genealogy. You have to go to the newspapers during the time because your ancestors could have been in those newspapers, right? And then that will help you fill gaps when you're doing your genealogical research. So we're going to go to this here. This is the 1918 Bossier Banner newspaper. Now let me blow it up so everyone can see here. Let's blow it up here so everyone can see. Let's go over here. Go up top here. Go over to the side. Okay, so this was some kind of Red Cross donation event for the Red Cross. Okay. Contributions by residents of the countryside of the Second Red Cross War Fund. Last Friday, he was in Benton and called at the office. He stated that Bellevue had given $104 to the YMCA fund had subscribed for $1,600 in bonds of the Third Liberty loan, and that the total of the subscriptions below was $330, right? They have a list of those who donated, right? So you go down here, and there it is. Pinckney, Grissett, and family. He donated $5, okay? Now, I'm going to show another article with Pinckney Grissett here. This was a newspaper article in 1902. Same newspaper, Bossier Times. Let's blow it up. Because this here, they were actually publishing the land patent applications and people who received the land patents, right? No, let's see, right here. Hold on. Here, okay. Let's make it bigger so everyone can see it here. So the newspapers are a valuable tool to complete your genealogical research, family. So let's see here, okay. Right here, okay. So here, homestead entries, Department of the Interior, Land Office at Natatoke, Louisiana, May 5th, 1902, okay. Right. Okay, so notice is hereby given that the following named settler has filed notice of his intention to make final proof in support of his claim, and that said proof will be made before clerk of district court at Benton, Louisiana, July 16, 1902. And these are the homestead entry numbers. You're getting under my ancestry here. Okay, here, right here. At Benton, Louisiana, July 16, 1902, homestead entry, 6534, Pinckney Grissett, for the north half, section 36, township 20, north, range 11 west, Louisiana meridian. And then here are his witnesses who validated and affirmed that his continuous residence upon and cultivation of said lands. Now, let's briefly just show the land patent. Pinckney's land patent. Let's briefly show that. Let's see here. So remember, family, when you apply for a land patent back during those days, you'd actually have to cultivate the land 5 to 7 years before you're actually issued the land to patent, right? So you have to cultivate the land for 5 to 7 years. So he was officially issued the land patent on, let me pull it up here. Hold on a second here so you can see it. Okay, here it is here. Okay. So let's blow it up. Now, as I did in my previous, I showed in my previous presentation, family, and I showed the email. So you see this line here. This is at law called a mutilation. Any federal instrument, federal document that's been altered like this here is a mutilation. This is actually illegal, right? And I showed an email when I sent an email to the Bureau of Land Management representative, and I put his feet to the fire, and you see it here. It says here, said Pinckney Grissett, and to his heirs crossed out and assigns forever. And this here line across this here, right? But let's get back to this. I just want to show you the date here. So April 13th, 903, 1903 was when he was officially issued the land patent. And I just showed the newspaper article, which was 1902, which talked about him applying for it, cultivating it, and his witnesses. But because you have to cultivate it 5 to 7 years before, he actually was on the land since 1897, right around 1996 about, right? But remember, family, I did show the email with the. Let's go back to it again here. Let's go back to it again. Question update. Okay, so here's the email line. Okay, and I can't blow this up, unfortunately, but as I said before, I emailed him. I haven't, basically I told him I haven't heard back from you in a while. My great-grandfather's picking the Grissett land patent. It appears that your organization mutilated his land patent by drawing a line through it, important words in said land patent, which is unlawful. And he basically came back. He replied back here, upon researching other patents in the area, the intent of the crossed out wording is to remove the United States of America's reservation for ditches and canals. Then he says this would have been done at the time of the patent being issued. Despite heirs being crossed out, the portion of the sentence and the signs will give the same rights to heirs that the heirs will be entitled to. Now, I already know, knowing the law, right, that heirs and assigns, those are two different legal statuses. And I also already know that because they mutilated the line through the land patent, I'm going to add what's called a fraud claim when I go to phase 2, which is the phase 2 is filing the lawsuit to claim the land patent and get damages. So now they just provided me with evidence that there's fraud, which may have explained why Pinckney's children left Louisiana and moved to Los Angeles, because of my great-grandfather saw that line and had heirs crossed out. That's probably why he didn't think it would pass to his heirs, right? I mean, he would. I don't think he would know the law that detailed. But the point is, I have clear evidence of fraud and an attempt to deny the heirs their inheritance. Now, this representative here is trying to explain that away, but all of this is evidence, family. I got an email, which is a record. I'm going to use as evidence. So I wanted to point that out there. And let's get back here. Now, let me show you something here. Because I was going through the Bossier newspaper, family, and I found a name. So, first of all, let's go to the... Okay, here it is here. It's the Library of Congress. And anyone needs this link later, I can, let me know, email me. I'll send you the link to this Library of Congress, which you can, in any old newspaper in any state, starting from the year 1777 on up. And wherever your ancestors are, you can actually try to pull newspapers in the area to get information. They could have been in those newspapers. So here, I typed in the last name Grissett, right? I type this in, and you hit go. And then in the articles, newspaper articles pop up, right? They pop up. And then, a lot of this stuff here. So then what I wanted to do was, I put in my grandmother, Martha Grissett's first son, Thomas Grissett. When I typed that in before, I hit this, and articles pop up, right? So you see this Bossier banner, 1868. So when I hit on this here, family, let's blow it up. Let's blow it up here. Hopefully everyone can see that. When I clicked on this, let's go up. I found something very interesting, right? I found this information about some guys. Let's see here. What is it? Oh, here it is here. Okay. All right. So you see the name here, Thomas Grissett, right? And let's pull up so you see exactly what this is about. When you come up here, sheriff's cell. Professional clone. Okay. So that name Thomas Grissett popped up. But let me come here. All right, so these are tax notices, right? Just a tax notice. So then I go down here, and then you see Bossier Parish, Louisiana, and I see a Thomas Grissett. Now these are coordinates, family, the east half of northwest quarter of section 28, township 17, range 11, right? So then let's see, here's another one, Bossier Banner, 1877. Let's see here. Let's see here. I want to show this here. Okay. Oh, before I go to that, let's go back to Martha. Martha Grissett, right? My grandfather's mother. So I found her in this newspaper, called The Caucasian, Shreveport, Louisiana, November 18th, 1909. So, ladies list. Let's blow it up, make it bigger. So you see this ladies list here. This list of ladies down here. And there it is. Martha Grissett's listed in here. He's listed in here, right there. Right? And then, of course, I have a whole lot of information that puts it right there in our location. But I'm going to show you this here important thing here, because this is how I found the land patent here. Let me see here. This one. Let's pump this newspaper up here. Bossier Banner. This is Bossier Banner 1874. No, it's not it. Hold on, it's 1915. Yeah, this one. Okay, this is Bossier Banner 1915, family. 1915. Now let's blow this up. This is very, very important. Very, very important. This led me right to the treasure. Okay, now, just to put it into context, what we're dealing with here, in this newspaper article, it talks about state tax, delinquent taxes, people who are kind of late on their taxes, right? Saturday, June 5th, 1915. Okay, so this is in Bossier, Ward 1, Ward 2. Remember Ward 6, family? My people were Martha, Pinckney, everybody's in Ward 6. Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 6, okay? So Ward 6 is going to continue from this column through here over to here, right? And of course, you look at Ward 6, it gives you coordinates. Miss W.W. Beard, the east half, southeast quarter of northeast quarter of section 30, TP 16, which is township, range 10, 120 acres, $5.10 in taxes. So these are coordinates to land, family. Okay? Now, in Ward 6, let's go to the other side. Ward 6 continues over here. So I'm going through here, and lo and behold, I find look what I find here. Okay, Ward 6 continues over here. All over here, right? And look what we find here. Okay, right over here. Not a Ward 6s. Ward 6 is the last ward. There's only 6 is the highest. But okay, here. Owners whose addresses are unknown. Okay, we're still in Ward 6, family. 19th, right there. Thomas Grissett. Okay, the east half of northwest quarter of Section 28, Township 17, Range 11. So when I went to Ancestry, I put the name Thomas Grissett in there. Nothing popped up, family. Nothing. Nothing popped up. Couldn't find anything. It was a Thomas Grissett, but he's in Texas. So then I said, okay, let me try this. I went to BLM database, right? Now let's go to right from the beginning here. Let me show you how I did it. I'm going to just walk you right down to how I did it, right? So you got the state, Louisiana. So what I did, family, you go to the article, right? Section 28, Township 17. So you can search for land patents by these coordinates. I put in Section 28. I put in Township 17, right? And you go back to it. It says Range 11, 80 acres. So I put in Range 11. You hit search, and boom, look at this. Thomas, not Grissett family, Grissell. They misspelled his name. This is intentional. So Pinckney, this is Pinckney Grissett's father. Now I got all the other records that I'm using for my case, right? So Pinckney Grissett issued his land patent in 1903. His father, this land patent, let's click on it. Let's click on it. Remember, it's Bossier family. We just read the newspaper article, Bossier County, Ward 6. You see here, Bossier, Section 28, Louisiana. We go up here. Is this patent canceled? No, it's still active. When was it issued? March 20th, 1877. All right, now, let's click on the image of it. Let's make it bigger so everyone can see it here. So everyone can see it here. Matter of fact, no, let's do this because I already downloaded it so you can see it clearly. Let's just open it up here. Let's just open it up. Okay, here it is here. All right, there it is. That's bigger, okay? Now, so we see that. Now we see it here. So it's Thomas. This is the old way. These are two S's. That's how I used to write those S's right there. Grissett, okay, not Grissell, right? And containing 80 acres and 1,400 of an acre, right? See here, Thomas Grissett, and it was President Hayes at the time, right? President Hayes who issued that there. Now, one thing legally about a land patent family, it's a sovereign who owns all the vested titles in the sovereign. But when the sovereign issues a land patent, the sovereign is giving away their vested ownership interest to the individual. Okay? So before the United States Federal Republic, you had it was under the colonial crown jurisdiction. And those they were called actually land grants, patented land in the form of grants, which was the sovereign at that particular, in those jurisdictions were the king, right? And so the king would grant individuals patented land. So that's the king giving away his vested interest in that land to that particular individual. And those particular land grants are still active today. And at the end of my presentation, we're going to have a live case example of someone I'm helping claim his ancestral estate in the state of Georgia. And we completed phase 1, and we'll be moving to phase 2 pretty soon, right? But it's a sovereign granting all vested rights and title to an individual. And of course, currently now, that sovereign is in the form, in my ancestors' land patent was the United States, and that's why it has the president on there, granting vested full title and ownership interest to that particular individual, being Thomas Grissett, and then of course his other son Pinckney Grissett. So I just wanted to show that to you there, a little bit there, family. And now I want to kind of put everything in even further context here, because remember, all this happening when we were reading the Bossier Times, 1868, right, in Louisiana. We got to remember who were the individuals politically, the senators, the congressmen controlling Louisiana at that particular time. Well, shout outs to A1 here. When I first, got this here from him there. A lot of people have this image, but we're going to put this into context here, okay? This is the image of all 30 senators and congressmen in the state of Louisiana, and then, of course, in the middle, the Honorable O.J. Dunn, His Excellency. All right? Okay? And all the distinguished gentlemen around him, all 30 of them. Will you notice something, family? They're all melanated. Every last one of them in the state of Louisiana. Right? In the state, 1868. The distinguished members of the Convention and Assembly, AD 1868, with the portraits. Okay? Not the fiction, because remember, there's two worlds, family. There's the fictitious world, and then there's the real world. In the fictitious world, they tell you from the Congo. But we just saw the documentary, the 7-minute documentary in the beginning of Congolese people traversing thousands of miles through jungles in South America, up through the Texas border, and they're being taken care of in the state of Maine. If you had ancestors from the Congo family, and if those Congolese knew that they had their own family members taken away from their villages 150 years ago, they wouldn't have to go through that process. All they have to do is claim their relative in America to get a green card. And then we're going to destroy the whole DNA fiction. Because I noticed here in this new year in January, a lot of these Pan-Africans been talking DNA. Again, they're sorcerers, family, trying to get you in a fictitious world. If DNA was real and could connect you to some long-lost ancestor, the people up in the state of Maine who's worried about whether or not these people would be deported will use DNA to connect them to their American relative so they can stay. They've been using DNA to connect us to our long-lost African relatives. All right, so let's get back to the real world. The real world. The fictitious world, they want you to believe that these were slaves, family, right? All 30 controlling the entire state of Louisiana. And in the fictitious world, they want you to believe that these slaves were freed in 1865. What's the year on here? 1868. So you mean to tell me, according to the fictitious world, that the pale skins were dominating us and they're going to let their slaves free and they're going to vote them into office? All of them? I mean, this is so comical. These people should become comedians. I mean, this is great content for any comedian because it's funny as hell. I pay $200 to sit in the front row and laugh my ass off at these jokes. Now let's continue along the real world here, family, because I'm going to go a little bit down on my maternal line, just a bit here, because I came across something here, and I'm going to show you something before I end here, and we get to some other stuff here. It's your own family members will be the ones deceiving you, family. Okay? Your own family members will deceive you and lie to everyone. You know why? Because they're cutting back deals for land. It's all about land, family. This is why they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into the out of Africa stuff to pull you away so they can keep controlling the land. Because that's what it's been about from the beginning. A real American has land. A real Indian has land. So look yourself in the mirror and just be honest. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to dishonor your ancestors and play along with these distractions and play part in that and die like that? Or are you going to honor your ancestors and give it a fight? Try to at least fight for it. Try at least. Go for it. Remember, this is a public battle, family. Your genealogy is public. It's not cloak and dagger stuff. I made a public declaration. When you public, remember, the criminals, the liars, the thieves want to work in darkness and sneak around because and so when you put these people on the record in a courtroom, because you're going to openly say it out to the world, these are my ancestors. This is my land. I'm an heir. I got a right to it. You know, that's not nothing you do in secret. You gotta declare to the world on the record, back with your genealogical evidence, because the fraud person will never come to the real world to claim your ancestors. Because what do they have to do? They have to produce their own birth certificate with their mother and father on it, and then they got to produce their mother and father's ancestors out to the public for the world to see. They won't do that. They won't do that. So yeah, they can hijack your ancestors and put it in a virtual world and be whatever character they want to be in the virtual world. Give them that. Let them have that. No problem. They can just stay in that virtual world. But again, family, in 2022, it's time to claim your inheritance. Hundreds of millions of dollars in compensatory and restitution damages. Plus, if you decide to let the violators continue to stay on your land, now, of course, if they're entities like these big companies that are making a lot of money, yeah, you work a deal out with them. Oh, you continue to stay, but they pay you royalties, yearly royalties, in perpetuity. This is what this is about right now, family. Don't be left behind. Don't be the dog chasing its tail for years and not going anywhere. All right, now, all right, so we went down a little bit of my paternal. This is my maternal, my mother, Brenda, okay? And let's go over here to her parents right here. Lee Arthur Ziegler and Ruby Coco, okay? My grandmother. As I told you again, my grandmother and my grandfather left Shreveport, Louisiana in the year 1943 for Los Angeles, right? My grandmother had 4 children from Lee, Arthur, my grandfather. And again, my grandfather had a secret family. And then when she discovered all that, it crushed her. She's actually going to kill Bertha, Lee's other wife. He had 4 children with her. But they ended up divorcing. And my grandmother, became a registered nurse. And she, did very well. And, she had land in Louisiana. And, of course, she bought properties in Los Angeles. But you know, she's the foundation of us. But let me connect myself to her. Okay, let me connect myself to her, show and prove that I am connected. Because you know, you gotta draw that connection there. So let me go here to some of these photo images I have of my grandmother. Okay, grandma photo 1. Let me show her obituary. All right, so let me download it. It's downloaded here. Rotate it. Okay, so this is the cover of her obituary. Sister Ruby Coco Lewis. Okay, and you see here, she's born April 12th, 1923. She died 2007. Right. Um, let's get to the next one. Inside of this obituary. Rotate it. Make it bigger so the family can see it. Okay. A little bit about her story, right? Ruby Coco was born on April 12th, 1923 in Shreveport, Louisiana, to the late Carrie Presley and Edmund Coco. Okay. Now we're going to go along this Presley line because this is very, very important, right? She was one of 5 children. She married Lee Arthur Ziegler, just showed you on my tree. And from this union, blessed with 5 children, Marie, Carolyn, Brenda, that's my mother, you just saw on the tree there, right? Eddie and Rhonda. Now, Carolyn is, she died when I was in like 8 years old, 74. And then my uncle Eddie, he died in 2013. So there's only my mother, Brenda, and Rhonda currently living now, okay? And then it says here, she's also the mother to Johnny, Kim, and Kent. Now, Johnny, Kim, and Kent are the children of my grandfather's other woman, Bertha. Okay? But you know, it's interesting. I don't know, maybe that was a cultural thing. We just all lovey-dovey one. The men have more than one wife and children from them. And, you know, they consider my grandmother, Johnny, Kim, and Kim's mother as well. Okay? So, let's go down here. Let's see here. Of course, she went to the church there. And let's continue here. Photo 3. Download it. Rotate it. And make it bigger. Okay? Okay, now, Ruby leaves and to cherish her life, daughters Brenda and Rhonda. Brenda's my mother, and son Edward. Grandchildren, Latanya, Charles, Andre. This is me right there, okay? See all that. Now, then you see here, great-grandchildren. She has my children listed here. Fuma, right? He was the only one alive at that time because he was born in 2005, okay? So I made a connection to Ruby Lewis, my grandmother, right? Now, remember, her mother, right? You got to remember this here because we can go down that Presley line, right? My grandmother's mother, right there, Carrie Presley. Remember that name, family, Carrie Presley, okay? Right? All right, here's Carrie Presley here, right? We click here. Carrie Presley's parents right up here. Isaac Presley Lottie Pouncey, maiden name, Lottie Presley, okay? All right, now let's pull some of these records. Now we're going to go to, I want to show the hold on. Hold on, family. Hold on a second here. We're going to show a little bit more evidence. And most people are, oh, well, how do we know that's your grandmother, right? You just see your first name and that crap, right? So let's just continue showing improving. All right, let's just continue showing improving here. All right. That's my grandmother there. That's me with my grandmother. You guys know what I look like. That's my wife and my first son, oldest son, Fuma, when he was young. And this is my grandmother. This is her husband, Sam, my step-grandfather, okay? And I used to live with them, along with my two sisters and my two cousins. We lived with them, my grandmother and my step-grandfather. Right, so you see that there. So showing and proving that I'm connected to Ruby Lewis, right? So let's go to the Presley information. Father Presley 2012 brochure. Now I believe I showed this before in a previous presentation, but we're just gonna, and this is my thumbnail image on today's presentation, family, is my ancestor. We call him Father Presley. He was a Baptist preacher. And you remember last time I showed, which you will see, let me make it bigger. This was the brochure for the family reunion in 2012, okay? Now, I don't go to the family reunions. Now, matter of fact, I'm going to start changing and start incorporating true information because, unfortunately, my cousin Karen, who's the so-called genealogist, and she prepared all this stuff, she's been spinning a bunch of lies, okay? Well, this is Father Presley. I call him the hidden one, right? He has a whole lot of different names. And he would change names depending on the situation. First name, right? So he's born roughly around 1820 in Darlington County, South Carolina. Darlington County, South Carolina. Now let's get a little bit of history on Darlington here, right? Originally a heavily wooded area, the settlement of what is now Darlington County began in earnest after 1736, 1737, when the province of South Carolina set aside a vast area of land for the Welsh Baptists of Delaware, okay? The Welsh tract bordered both sides of the PD River. For almost 30 years, settlers concentrated on the banks and small tributaries of the PD River. Beginning in the 1760s and continuing into the 1770s, other groups slowly made their way into present-day Darlington and were granted lands on the Lychee River, Jeffreys Creek, and a host of other watercourses. These settlers included descendants of French Huguenots, Scots, Irish, and the English. Okay? A little bit about Darlington. Right? Let's go back to the brochure. Here. Go back to the brochure. Okay. So he's roughly around 1820, Darlington. But he leaves Darlington and he goes to a place called DeSoto Parish in Louisiana. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you, family, how your own family members will lie and propagate and support the fictitious narrative of Africans. So let's just scroll down here. Go to some of the other pages here, right? And this is July 21st, 2012, Shreveport Convention Center. Cotto Street. Okay. Now, mind you, Father Presley, as I said before in the previous presentation, he was a Baptist preacher, and he could build things. He was, he could build you a beautiful structure. And he built and founded not 3 churches, 4 churches in that area in Louisiana, 3 of which still stand. Now, unfortunately, I talked to one of my cousins, Liza, who's like 87 now, and she told me that the Morning Star Baptist Church, which I'll show you a picture of, burned down, okay? And then, Father Presley also has what's called the Morningside Cemetery, where he's buried, and a lot of his children are buried. And then any of us, if we want to be buried there, we have that option. But Liza, my cousin, told me a couple of weeks ago that some of the descendants sold their land in that particular area. Now, a lot of that is in Frierson, Louisiana, because he had a church in Frierson, and many of the descendants who had the land, who inherited the land from him, my cousin told me a couple of weeks ago, many of them sold the land, right? She still has hers. Liza has her 40 acres. Her brother and sister, they each have 40 acres. But some of the family members are also collecting a monthly check because they discovered oil in Frierson. And guess what, family? I talked to Phyllis, one of my cousins, who's getting a monthly check from one of the energy companies. She's been getting like $12 a month for the last, few years. And so, but let's get back to that. I'm just going to kind of show you. I'm going to catch my own cousin in a lie. And I want you guys to see this, right? Okay. So, here it is here. Biography of Stephen and Phyllis MacGyver Presley. Now, his wife is Phyllis MacGyver. Her father was a Dr. MacGyver. Very, very, that's a noble name, MacGyvers, from North Carolina. But, one day I'll really get deep into my own genealogy, family. That's going to actually be after I claim certain land patents. Because right now it's about focus on that and that strategy. But I'll get into details of genealogy, about their life story and all that stuff. But, the Presleys, along with the Witherspoons, they actually voyaged together and came to, as I call it, American returnees, returning back to America in the late 1600s, early 1700s. And the Presley's family and the Witherspoon family came together. They were always together. And when my father Presley left Darlington County, South Carolina, he left first. Boykin Witherspoon came, and he also left and settled in DeSoto. But now listen to the story that my cousin Karen spins. Let's read this together here, family. Father Presley was born a slave in Darlington County, South Carolina, on January 3rd, 1820. He was enslaved by Boykin Witherspoon, a prominent planter from Society Hill, South Carolina. Okay? This is what she's spinning here. And then she says here, Stephen was a carpenter by trade. He married another slave by the name of Phyllis MacGyver. MacGyver? A slave? Okay. Then it says here, Welsh Neck Baptist Church records indicate that the couple fellowshiped there as slaves, but were dismissed in October 1854, along with 6 other servants of Boykin Witherspoon, to join a church in Louisiana. All lies, family. I got the Welsh Neck Baptist Church minutes. I got the minutes. So we won't get into that now, but my father Presley and the MacGyvers, they grew up in that Baptist church there, okay? But my cousin says that they left with Boykin Witherspoon to Louisiana, right? Let's continue. Look at this fictitious Hollywood script. She writes, Witherspoon, like many other Darlington District residents, migrated west in search of fertile ground ideal for planting. They settled in a then virtually unoccupied area of DeSoto Parish, Louisiana, which was previously inhabited by the Caddo Indians, bringing with them over 200 slaves, including Stephen Presley, his wife Phyllis, and 5 of their 8 children. And then she gets into this narrative, the 900-mile journey through, just straight Hollywood stuff, right? Through the Pee-wee River in South Carolina to Louisiana's Red River Valley. Could not have been an easy one, emotionally or physically, for the Presley family, right? This just drawn out narrative and crap, right? But now let's get to reality, family. Let's get to reality, okay? Now, we're going to look at Boykin Witherspoon on the 1860 census. We're going to look at Boykin Witherspoon 1860 census. Let's pull that up here. Right here, 1860. Okay, right here. All right. All right. County of DeSoto, state, right? DeSoto, state, Louisiana, enumerated 2nd day, September 1860. Post office Mansfield. Let's make this bigger so everyone can see it. Okay. Boykin Witherspoon family. Okay. Just wife, daughter Jane, Betsy, Rebecca, Henry, and Boykin Jr. Now, I believe I did this last time. All these people are melanated. The Witherspoons are melanated, and I showed them proof in a presentation last year on A1's channel. But I'm not going to get into that now, but I just want to show you how your own family members can lie, okay? Now, she said that Father Presley was a slave brought over to Louisiana by Boykin Witherspoon in 1854, right? Now, let's look at this here. Let's make it bigger because I want to show this here, right? So I want to show this here, the ages. So we see here Boykin Witherspoon. We go way over here, family. SC for South Carolina, right? Place of birth, right? South Carolina. And we got the line. All of his children are born in South Carolina, right? Now, this is the 1860 census in DeSoto. So if all of his children are born in South Carolina, and in 1860, right? Look at his youngest child. He's 2 years old. Mary, 2 years old. Also born with the check. All that means South Carolina. So in 1858, Boykin Witherspoon was still in South Carolina in 1858. All right? Now, we're not finished. We're not finished yet here. Your own family members just lie because she's cutting a bad deal because of the land holdings of of Father Presley. The land holdings. And let me show this to you. So Boykin Witherspoon wasn't even in Louisiana as late as 1858. I know when he got there because he got there in 1859, actually. right? He got there in 1859. And but I'm going to show this to you here. Catch her in her lie here. Let's see. Okay, here. Now this is an image off of Ancestry of Father Presley's son. Okay. And this is the one that gives me my connection to the Presley line, because his son married Lottie Presley. Let's make this bigger so everyone can see it. So this is a death record. I'm trying to make this thing bigger here. Hold on. Can anyone see that? Hold on, family. Make it bigger. Can you see that? Put a 1 in the chat if you can see that. Is that visible? So you see that there, Eisen Presley. Make this bigger here. Hold on. Okay, death date, July 13, 1915. Death place, Frierson, DeSoto, Louisiana. Male, blah, blah, that there. Okay, estimated birth year, 1847, Gloucester, Louisiana. Father, Stephen Presley, Gloucester, Louisiana family, 1847. So he's been there in Louisiana way before Boykin Witherspoon. And oh, by the way, Father Presley's born around 1820. Boykin was born in 1815. Boykin's only 5 years younger. Older than Stephen Presley. But clearly, he's been in Louisiana because his first son was born in Louisiana in the 1840s. But we're not finished there yet, family, because now I understand why. And by the way, Karen, my relative, my cousin, she doesn't speak to me now because our last conversation a couple of years ago, I told her she was wrong for lying, knowing that who they were. And then I told her that I know about the land. Once I told her that, she went dark and hasn't spoken to me since. Right? So to be your own family members. Now, I'm going to show you something here. Let's go back to the brochure about the different names your ancestors would have. And the different names they'll have. Okay, let's go back to the brochure. Let's go back to that. Okay, so let's go back to this here. Now this is my cousin Liza, right? She's actually 87 now. It's no picture. She's 87. And she's in Los Angeles as well. And she has land from Father Presley. You see her name, Eliza. We call her Liza. These are other family members there. Patty Presley, Cassandra Atkins, Inez Clark. So but I'm just going to show you the tree here. Okay, this is one of the churches Father Presley built, and he was a founder. He's the founder, builder, and pastor of this church here, right? The Bethel Church. And of course, what's under the church, family? Land, right? But she wants to, my cousin is just ridiculous. Here's the other church, history of Mechanicsville Baptist Church. Now, the reason he called this one Mechanicsville, because he was from an area of Mechanicsville, Darlington. growing up as a boy. It was a little city area he lived in, so he named one of his churches Mechanicsville Baptist Church. And this, of course, Morning Star. And next to this church is the Morning Star Cemetery where he's buried, and other family members are buried. But the sad news is I heard that we no longer control the land under this church because certain family members sold their land. But the good news, family, I'm going to get all that back because I found something I'm going to share with you before I close out here. And here is the Matthew Baptist Church, DeSoto Parish, Stonewall, one of his other churches. And now this here is the Buena Vista Plantation, built in 1859. Now today it's a historical site, right? But when I go to Louisiana, which would be in the spring, to complete all my research and to launch phase 2, start suing for land, I bet I got a gut feeling in my ancestors talking to me that this was Father Presley's house. Now we'll confirm that once I get there, but this was his house. Because they said he built it, but he, that same slave, so he built it for the slave master crap, right? Yeah, so right, you see right here, it's a National Register of Historic Places, right, by the Department of Interior. Okay, but I'm going to crack that code as well. But I'm going to show you this here, family. Get down to the tree here. Okay, here, Presley family tree. Okay, so you see here, Stephen Presley. Now, he has a whole lot of different names. This wife, and then Isom Presley. Okay, that's his firstborn. Oldest. I just showed that Isom Presley was born around in the 1840s in Louisiana. Okay. Now, Isom Presley, I showed you my grandmother, and my grandmother's mother name is Carrie Presley. Okay. Isom Presley is Carrie Presley's father. Now, let's continue down here. This is the children. Isom, again, a whole lot of different names. One minute he's Isham with an H. In another, he's Dan Presley, one of his other names. And another name is James Presley. And I found that later in the census. James. And I'm going to show you some of that stuff there. But further go down here. So you see here. So Isham Presley married Lottie Pounces. That's my great-great-grandmother. Right? And see this here. And then she breaks it down further, the grandchildren. So you see here, children of Isom and Lottie Presley. Remember on my grandmother's obituary record, her mother, Carrie Presley, right there. So Isom and Lottie Presley, Carrie Presley's right there, the daughter. Okay, they had a whole lot of children in those days, right? So that's the connection. Carrie Presley is the daughter of Isom and Lottie. Now, let me show you some of the different names of Isham Presley here. Okay, yeah. So here on this 1910 census family, he's James. And this is how we, sometimes you just want to put the last name in, family. Then that'll kind of help you find stuff because a lot of them, now they in my case, they would change their name. That was intentional because of actually who they were. So you see, that says James, and then of course you see here Lottie. That's Lottie, and then Muriel, and then Carrie Presley, right? So that's how you make that connection. But they have different names. And now I want to get to this here, family, because Father Presley. Now let me go back to the photo here, the brochure. Let's go back to the cover the thumbnail, right? There he is right there. So I'm thinking to myself, family, he had these churches, right? And at the bottom, on the church is on land. So then my cousin Lyons is telling me, oh yeah, she has 40 acres. Her siblings, they each have 40 acres, and other family members have acres. And then they some of them sold their land. Some of them are getting checks because they discovered oil and Frierson, right? So, but on the record book, family, I couldn't find any land holdings under the name Stephen Presley, right? And even here, you see, let's see here. So even like right here, family, right here, right? So my cousin, she writes in here after the Civil War, Reverend Parson, Steve. And I'm thinking, okay, with Parson, right? And then even on the records, you see different names, right? Like, let's look at the 1900 census here. He'll have different names. Another name is Sophron Presley, right? But so what I did was, family, I didn't put the first name, I just put the last name in. So then I find a name and what connected to this land patent in the same area, DeSoto Parish, right where those churches were, right? Now let me show this to you here. Let me show this to you. Oh yeah, here's one right here. Let me show you. This is the 1880 census, but here it's Sophron, right? Sophron, right there. There he is, right there. Sapharan, not Stephen, Sophron. So he has all these names. Of course, his wife Phyllis, son, and then his son living next door, Isham Presley. That's the one that married my great grandmother, right? All these different names. So when I put just the last name in there, I found something, and let me pull this up. Let me pull this up here. Laird Presley, Stubby Presley land patent, right here, family. So I found this land patent, right? Same area. Now look at the spelling here. Now tell me, family, is that an S? It looks like an S, doesn't it? Severy Presley. That looks like an S, doesn't it? Or would you guys say that's an S or an L? If you think that's an S, put a 1 in the chat if you believe that's an S. It doesn't look like, family, an S. But see, in the BLM database, they have it as an L, levy. Okay? But that's an S, Sevi. But the key here is that it's in DeSoto Parish. And then so then when I say, okay, wait a minute, maybe, because you got to think worst case scenario, that's not him. So then when I put Levy Presley, an L, or Sevi Presley, born 1820 in South Darlington, South Carolina, nothing pops up. Only thing that pops up is my ancestor, Stephen Presley. Because this same individual, born 1820 in DeSoto Parish, Darlington, South Carolina, and then he's with these land patents. But I didn't find not one land patent, family, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 land patents in that name, Sevi Presley, born 1820 Darlington, and the first land patent was issued in 1844, right? And there's 5. Remember, he had 4 churches, and all that land. So let me just show you an example here. Let's go Louisiana. Last name Presley. But when I'm searching this here, nothing really So here, you see that levy? They have a levy with an L, not with the S like it says in the patent, right? Levy, and then there's a wit guy. Now, when you open this up, the wit guy, this was a bounty patent, but he assigned it to my ancestor. He assigned it to him, right? But then there's others, because there's 5. Here's another one. Let's see here. Let's do this. Let's put in that levy. So when you put that L in there, L-I-V-I, and you see that county, see that family? DeSoto. All these are in DeSoto Parish, right? So then, you, of course, on Ancestry itself, you get the same information, but it's actually better on Ancestry, though. Put that in there. Presley, 1820, Darlington, South Carolina, lived in DeSoto Parish, Louisiana, right? Put that in there. Gender male. Family, never put race, nationality in there when you're searching. Never use that. So you click on this. See, look at this, family. Look at this. This is what pops up. Land office. Nothing but records. Nothing but land records. Let's get more specific. Let's go down to court land. Click on that, right? Click on land records. Like that. And boom, look at all this. So then you open this up. DeSoto, Louisiana. Look at that. March 10th, 1851. Boykin Witherspoon wasn't even in Louisiana at that time, family. DeSoto Parish, Louisiana. Right? That's March 10th, 1851. Here's another one. September 1st, 1849. They even got the image of the patent right here. DeSoto, Louisiana. So they intentionally will. Now this level, we just saw the patent, and that does not look like an L. Here's the name again. Look at that, family. Let's blow it up so everyone can see it. So everyone can see it here. That's an S. Sebi. That's an S. So this is one of his other names he used. And all this is right around those areas where he has all those churches. And then, of course, when I got my cousins who all still have land to this day. So, but what the land management did, they put an L in there to throw you off. Now, let's go deeper, family, because I found this. Here's an 1860 census with the Levy Presley. No, before that, hold on. Let's do this. Let's do that. Hold on. Before that, I want to show this. Just to juxtapose it, right? Because on all the other census records, when it comes to Stephen Presley, they never list his actual occupation record. He was a preacher, a Baptist preacher. But they never listed that on those census records as part of his occupation. Let's see here. Okay, here it is right here. Sophron Presley, 1880, right? Sophron, different name. They call him Sophron. Okay, Sophron Presley. Look at this. Works Farm. So Sophron Presley, 1880, 60 years old, born 1820, right? But for his occupation, works farm. They never said call him a preacher. We just saw the family brochure. He had all those churches. He was a preacher, but they don't put it on here. But I found this census record with the other name, Lev Presley, and lo and behold, on here, let's go to it. Right there, Lev Presley. What does it say here? Preacher. A preacher. They call him a monk preacher, a preacher family. But what's listed here? Real estate value, $4,500, landowner, $1,200, personal assets. Real estate assets, land assets, $4,500. See what they do? So we already know that they muck around with the census records to change stuff. But you make the connections by communicating with certain family members, like my family members that are currently living with land from AKA Stephen Presley to this day. Talk to my other cousin. She's getting a check, although she's well underpaid. You make that connection. But nowhere in these other records they state that. But under a different name, everything appears. The land patents. They call him a preacher. Everything appears, family. So this is how you have to kind of move when you're going down the genealogical rabbit hole, right? Sometimes they're gonna have different names depending on their occupation, what they did, and you guys still got to talk to those older family members to make those connections. And then, of course, ultimately, you're gonna hit a wall. You got to get on the ground to pull records as well. Now, I'm fortunate because my cousin Wallace put those key records we're going to use to claim Pinckney's land patent and Thomas Grisset's land patent. But this on my maternal line, the Presleys. And now, although I wasn't going to touch this because I knew the Presleys, my cousin and them had land, but now when I discovered this with a different name family, 5 different land patents. So I'm going there when I go to Louisiana in the spring to do research into the maternal line. But paternal line, that's already set. So I'm moving to phase 2 to claim it. But maternal line, I'm going to claim more stuff there. But I discovered that by, opening it up and looking at different names. I just wanted to pass that to you. Now we're going to, I'm going to invite a guest on here and make sure he's here. Name's Vince. I want to bring him on. Can you? I don't even know how to drop a link, family. I don't know how to operate the StreamYard here. Well, I guess I'm going to first talk about him a little bit about him before, because I don't know if he's around. But I'm going to. He knows what's going on. I'm not going to get into detail, right? But we're going to talk a lot about some of it, so you'll know what's going on here. So he's my current client, Vince Sanford, and we completed phase 1 of his ancestral estate. Now let me pull that up. So there's a land patent. He has a few of them, right? 3 of them. We already got 1. We completed phase 1. Okay. Phase 1 is when you actually take a land patent and you deed it to yourself. That's a legal, very complicated, intricate legal process that I know. I laid the blueprint for that. Okay. So that was recorded. Okay, that was recorded to take his ancestors' land patent and basically update it and deed it to himself, which is a legal process. And then you record it, and then once it's recorded, and then you're going to have your affidavit. You swear under oath, and you're going to produce other evidence, such as your genealogical evidence as well with that. And then once that's recorded, legally and lawfully, it's yours. And then, of course, phase 2 is going after the entities or individuals who are currently on the land, right? But I just want to show that there, because see, it's not about just talking, family. It's about application. Application. But you have to have the skill set and the knowledge to do that. Okay? Which I do have, which is why I'm in this cipher. It was mandated by ancestors to come here to help those out who are fortunate enough to be descendants and heirs of family members who have land patents. This is not a joking matter, family. You don't want to die this way, under sorcery, under fiction. Never claimed your land patent. Never even tried to attempt to claim anything your ancestors may have left you. And we're at war because there's people in this cipher. Remember, the social media is the new battlefield, family. It's the new battlefield. Gathering information, and they send in their agents. They look like us, they talk like us, and they're going to come tell you a sweet story, family. But as I always tell people, do your due diligence. Someone tells you that they're selling you services, you got to confirm their own resume of who they are. Someone's talking law, okay, show me your resume. Show me the legal cases, that's a public record, that you initiated a lawsuit and you successfully won and got remedy. Show it to me. Give me the case number. No, but we don't do that. We're just going to just take what people say. Give them finance and end up getting screwed. Or we give them our information and they never give us what we want. So hold on here. Let me. All right, so here's the recording. Let me blow it up so everyone can see it. Okay? Right. All right. Remember, this Georgia jurisdiction, okay? And this particular land patent was, in the 1800s, they had what's called a lottery land patent system in Georgia, and his ancestor got one of those land patents, and then no, excuse me, that's the land patent. That's one of the other. He has three. We recorded one. Now this one is an 1807 land patent, land grant in Georgia. Okay, the phase one is to take the land patent and deed it to yourself through a legal process of recording. And this is a receipt that it was recorded. Okay, to him, right? Account description, quit claim deed, back with this affidavit and evidence. Wilkinson Superior Court County, Clerk of Superior Court, Irvington, Georgia. Receipt number, date, January 13, 2022. He paid $25 for the deed and $25 for his affidavit. And of course, the affidavit will have certified copies of the original ancestral land grant or land patent, his genealogical information. In the real world, it's your genealogy, not 23andMe. Okay, that's fiction. It's your genealogy. And you got to show and prove that you are connected to the land patent holder. Once you do that under oath, you swear, you present the records to back it up. Someone would have to actually dispute that by showing and proving with their affidavit that you're not connected. That's what happens in the real world. Okay? But phase one's completed. Recorded the land patent. It's in it, it's in his name. So we recorded, paid the fee. And they'll be mailing him the copies of that. And then we're going to move to phase two, which is to sue who's on it. Now, he actually drove around his land, took a little footage of his land. I'm going to share that with the family here. Oh, wait a minute. Can I do that? Download link generator. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. I want you guys to see that video of the land there. Okay. Let's see. Here it is here. Let's see. That's kind of strange. It's not showing. Good for Google trying. It's not letting you see this here, fam. Let's try this. Google trying viewer. Okay. See below. Huh. Not letting me show that for some reason. Hold on a second here. Okay, hold on. Maybe I can do it there. I can show it from my cell phone. And then put it there. Hold on. Let's see here. I'm gonna put it on the camera here, right? Yeah, I thought I could send it to myself and then but for some reason not showing family. But hold on a second here. Make myself bigger. Okay, now I'm going to show this. I don't know if you can see that. But that's his ancestral land there. The one that he just recorded and deeded it to himself there. It's 280 acres. So he does all the groundwork. Give him everything he needs. He does all the groundwork. He follows instructions, and he successfully we got phase one. And so that's just one example of people doing real work, family, out there, battling, trying to going after their ancestral estates, because this is what it's about, right? And I want to share something else here. This particular article. Okay. Let me know if you can see that on the screen, family. Press 1 if you can see that. Hopefully I'm still screen sharing. Can you see that? There's an article there. No? Can't see that, huh? No. Wow, okay, hold on. Okay, I gotta share. How about now, family? Can you see that? Put a 1 in the chat if you can see that. How about now? Great, awesome. All right, so honors to Sister Lisa Cypress. She's out here doing real work. She's a real Indian, because as I said before, family, real Indians are landowners. Real Indians are going after and claiming their ancestral land. Real Americans, many of whom are landowners, or real Americans are going after and claiming their ancestral lands. So we see here, title of this newspaper article, Indian descendant amends lawsuit to include chain of title to disputed land, right? So let's get into this here. This gets into genealogy and the importance of genealogy, right? Because this is the real world, family, real world discussions. So Lisa Cypress, the Accomack Indian descendant, who is suing the Northampton County Board of Supervisors and PNC Bank for the return of she said native lands in their possession, including Eastville's Indian Town Park. Okay? The Accomack Indians, aka the Gingaskins, lived on a reservation that was established in 1640 in the area known today as Eastville. Through an 1815 settlement agreement, the reservation was divided into 27 lots, 25.5 acres each, and were deeded to the Accomack family members. Over the last 2 centuries, ownership of much of the land was transferred to people who were not of Accomack Indian descent. Sometimes deeds were fraudulent, right? Let's get into the nitty gritty here, right here. We're on the show here. Okay. Ms. Cypress provided a genealogical breakdown generated on the Ancestry website, which connects her to E.B. Francis in 1792, who was granted Lot 26, which became half of Indian Town Park. She was Cypress's 4th great-grandmother. E.B. Francis married William House II. Their son, George House, became the 3rd great-great-grandfather of Lisa Cypress. George House married Martha Baker, and their son, George House II, became the great-great-grandfather of Lisa Cypress. George House II married Mary Sample, and their son, Samuel House, became the great-grandfather of Lisa Cypress. And so on, family. See this genealogy that you got to prove and tell the world under oath who you are through your genealogy. This is what you do in the real world, right? Now, I'm going to juxtapose this with something in the fictitious world that a lot of our opponents have been recently promoting heavily this year, and that's DNA tests. As I told you last year, family, we do not need to waste time dealing with frivolous and fictitious discussions with people who are here just to cause distractions and pull you away from what your real duty and job is. So let's go to 23andMe terms of service. I did it before. I'm just going to do it again. I'm not going to get into this again no more this year, family, just once. But since these people in January has been promoting this heavily, which means that they're being paid, right? Okay. This is fictitious stuff, family, nothing to deal with the reality of the real world, all right? Let's go to section 5. Risks and considerations regarding 23andMe services. You should not assume that any information we may be able to provide to you, whether now or as genetic research advances, will be welcome or positive. Let's see what else here. Some people lower risk health results. Change your health outcomes to make research not comprehensive. While we measure many hundreds of thousands of data points from your DNA, only a small percentage of them are known to be related to human traits or health conditions. The research community is rapidly learning more about genetics, and an important mission of 23andMe is to conduct and contribute to this research. In addition, many ethnic groups are not included in genetic studies because interpretations provided in our service rely on these published studies. Some interpretations may not apply to you. Future scientific research may change the interpretation of your DNA. In the future, the scientific community may show previous research to be incomplete or inaccurate. What else here? Let's go to section 14. Okay. Now, you can't bring this into the real world, family. Now, if you make a mistake and you dare bring this into a real world in a courtroom when it comes to claiming your ancestral estates and lands, the defendants will love you to bring this. You will get toasted and will be summarily dismissed. You will lose your case bringing frivolous information in here. And 23andMe will tell you that they give no guarantees or any of that stuff. Okay. You agree to defend and hold 23andMe and its subsidiaries, affiliates, officers, agents, contractors, partners, employees, successors, and assigns harmless from any claim or demand, including reasonable attorney's fees made by any third party due to or arising out of user content you submit. Okay? So you can't even sue them if you agree to use their service, because they're not guaranteeing anything. Let's go to section 23. Limitation of liability. Wait a second. Disclaimer of warranties. You expressly acknowledge and agree that 1, your use of the services are at your sole risk. The services are provided on an as is and as available basis. 23andMe expressly declaims all warranties of any kind, whether express or implied, including but not limited to the implied warranties of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, and non-infringement. Number 2, 23andMe makes no warranty that A, the services will meet your requirements. B, the services will be uninterrupted, timely, unfailingly secure, or error-free. C, the results may be obtained from the use of the services will be accurate or reliable. They're not guaranteeing any of that. This is fiction. It's frivolous. Can't be used in the real world. Back to the real world, where it's genealogy, family. It's genealogy. Ms. Cypress also provided the genealogical connecting her to Thomas Baker II, born 1768, who owned Lot 27. Betsy Baker, born Betsy Bingham, around 1745, who owned Lot 1, was Cypress's 6th great-grandmother. And then we give all of this stuff here. So all of her genealogical records laid out for the world to know under oath that no one can dispute. No one can dispute. Connecting you to the original land patent holders. This is what it's about, family. So we have to honor and respect Lisa Cyphers, what she's doing. A real Indian doing real work, honoring her ancestors. And on a verge of making history. Let's look ourselves in the mirror. What are we doing to honor our ancestors? So I'm going to end it there, family. Hopefully this was just kind of put us back on the road of value and honor, and we have a job to do. We have a job to do. Now our job is personal, it's individual, because it deals with your own ancestors. It's not this fictitious stuff, we this, we that. No, is specific to you. Because what the national treasure you find is for you and your offspring, not for me. You know what I mean? You're not sharing that with me. It's for you. So I know a lot of us, we've been subject to fear-mongering tactics. The boogeyman's going to get us. The boogeyman's going to kill us. No. There's no boogeyman, family. You have all the power as a real American or as a real Aboriginal Indian. You have the power. Use it. And you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. You will be surprised. But you got to do it. You have to do it. So presentations I'm giving this year will be only dealing with claiming, acquiring your ancestral treasures. Well, mine, and of course, people that I'm helping out, right? And then after we claim it, you know, when we're set and our offspring are set forever, and we get back our ancestral land, then we can start getting into pontificating about history. You know, because going through these records, what I do know that under the colonial jurisdiction, those kings and queens were physically in North America. I do know that, but once I don't have time, I'm not getting into that to confirm all that because I'm not going to I have a more important role that is claiming my ancestral estate. Once I kick my feet back, then I can start talking stuff. You know, traveling and pulling up stuff. And I can relax. But now, family, it's time to put some work in. We're on the battlefield. We're at war. So, again, thanks for tuning in. And looking forward to my next build next time. I will be visiting other platforms to discuss there as well. Thanks again. I know it's late on the East Coast. And I will check the chat later on, as always, usually afterwards, and reply back to those who said some things to me there. So feel free to reach out to me on my email. It's amani.bey5@gmail.com. Okay, take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.